You're listening to the Fan2Fan Podcast, and on this episode, we're talking about monster toys from the 1990s. Here we go. Welcome back to the Fan2Fan Podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Bernie Gonzalez. With me today, returning guest, Megan. We've talked about Pumpkinhead. We've talked about The Thing. So you are no stranger to monsters. And since Pete and I have talked about toys, monster toys specifically from the 60s, the 70s, and our heyday of the 80s, and I'm a little younger than Pete, I do have a memory, and even might go so far as to say an affinity for some toys from the 90s. X-Men the Animated Series, Batman the Animated Series, Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. I think at that point, Pete was smoking and drinking and doing something else because he was an adult. I was still venturing into Toys R Us, KB Toys. And as we were talking about some of these 90s toys, you were familiar with some of them too.
Yeah, and I feel like the 80s toys and the commercials are super nostalgic. I feel like the 90s is when they started making the ridiculous over the top. Like we still sing the Crossfire song.
Crossfire, crossfire, you gotta win it in the crossfire. Crossfire, you gotta win it in the crossfire. Crossfire, you gotta win it in the crossfire. Crossfire, we execute hard, feel the heat up. First you got to win it before you can stop. Crossfire, crossfire, you gotta win it in the crossfire. Crossfire, you gotta win it in the crossfire. Crossfire, you gotta win it in the crossfire. Crossfire, you gotta win it in the crossfire from Milton Bradley.
And it's also a very radical, bodacious time because we saw
radical.
Absolutely. We saw the explosion of the internet. So things like Google and Amazon started to become a thing. Grunge, boy bands, Friends, Titanic, Nintendo 64, Beanie Babies, Tamagotchis. Like that's the 90s.
Absolutely.
This is one tough video game. Fencer's Quest is one tough video game with sinister razors, deadly traps, hideous monsters, and spooky graphics. But you may just make a mistake. You start all over again. Fencer's Quest, the video game from Sunsoft for the Nintendo Entertainment System. Are you good enough?
I think what's also unique is that video games were a staple. Toys were competing with PlayStation, with a Nintendo 64, with Mario Kart.
When you got Play-Doh, anything goes.
Down in the dungeon in my science lab, I create glowing monsters that'll drive you mad. Mad Monster Creator, it'll fill you with fright. Mad Monster Creator, they're a monstrous sight. When I fill them with dough, they come alive. But you're in for a shock. There's a skeleton inside.
I create a monster! Yeah!
Anything goes.
Wow!
With Play-Doh.
Play-Doh's Mad Monster Creator and multicolored glow-in-the-dark six-pack, each sold separately.
70s and 80s introduced us to the 3 3/4 size. All of a sudden, the figure is smaller. You can have a spaceship. You can have a bat cave. Part of like the evolution of toy technology, there's now electronics because you can miniaturize not only micro machines or Polly Pocket or Mighty Max, but now you've got a Tamagotchi that you're playing with, Furby, Trolls. Star Wars had been relaunched in 1995, just a few years before The Phantom Menace came out in 99, and that became a thing for like a whole new generation of kids.
There's wormy and purple and green, the grossest little creatures that you've ever seen. Creepy crawlers! Creepy crawlers!
Creepy crawlers, other plastic goop compounds and molds sold separately from Toymax.
And if we're talking more monstrous toy lines, Street Sharks, Mummies Alive, Skeleton Warriors, Toxic Crusaders. I think the one thing they all remind me of, extreme with an X, the MTV era designed aesthetics. You're combining some of that stuff too with the ugly trends, Mad Balls, the slime out, gross out gimmicks, and it's right next to Predator and Alien. And now they have action figures. They glow in the dark, and they have something called Rhino Xenomorph and Mantis Xenomorph and Nightstorm Predator. I don't know what it is, but I kind of want a laser shot Predator because I'm assuming it shoots a laser or something.
And how else will you terrorize your sister?
These steel-jawed beasts have a hunger for destruction. Can they be stopped by the ultimate galactic hunter? Predator! The battle is on. Aliens versus Predator, the hunter against the beast. An alien killer crab attacks, but the Predator crab tusk shoulder mount missile.
Yeah!
And Predator Scavenge attacks with a double-barreled bola, each sold separately. Will the Predator win the battle against the evil aliens? Aliens versus Predator. Now get a special 2-pack with an exclusive Dark Horse comic.
So we've got a few 90s toys that we'll kind of go over. And the good thing is either, Megan, you had these or your brother had these.
I was going to say, I was right in the sweet spot. My brother is older and my stepbrother is younger. So definitely got a little bit of both. So coming from the 80s for the beginning things from my brother being older and stepbrother being younger. So no, a lot of these definitely like the more gimmicky monsters definitely came in from stepbrother with like the slime, your mom's washing dishes, you should sneak in and scare her with this monster you made. And then from my brother, the 80s horror movies, like he had Pinhead mask and everything like that. So like definitely like between the two of them covered both directions and then the transition in between.
Monster Face, the gruesome monster head you make and remake into the most monstrous monsters imaginable.
Now for the test. It works!
Monster Face comes with everything shown here.
Well, you mentioned the kids scaring their mom. So we'll start with Monster Face. Came out in 1992 from Hasbro. The one thing about Monster Face to me is that it kind of represents, again, the monster ugly gimmick that was going on at the time. But really, honestly, it's kind of like a plug-and-play version of Mr. Potato Head.
Oh, yeah.
It's still kind of relying on the kid to bring a bit of creativity. Yes, you could put an arm where the eye socket is if you wanted to, and that's perfectly fine because it's meant for that kind of playability.
Yeah, and this is one that my stepbrother had, and I remember this one having it. I remember more toys than just this one.
I heard him yelling in the castle.
Fix me.
His name's Big Frank.
Fix me.
I said, I'm going to fix you. The talking monster, Big Frank.
I'll fix you, Big Frank. Monster Ball is fixed. How do you feel now, Frank?
It's always fun to fix him. A talking monster, Big Frank.
Big Frank talks and his eyes light up. Batteries not included. Fix me.
So the next one, I think, definitely was more for a younger, maybe even like preschool audience. At least that's the sense that I got. And that was a Big Frank by Play School that came out in 1992. Compared to Monster Face, the song for this, I can still hear in my head. It's still an earworm. Big Frank, there is something sort of, because of the very bright neon colors that you never associate with Frankenstein. I see Frankenstein in black and white, in sepia tone, dark colors. This is completely the opposite. It's loud, it's saturated.
Yeah, it also almost feels like the kids' monsters aren't scary. This is your friend. It has the chubby cheeks. It looks like the little boy version of an American Girl doll, if that's the classic little girl toy, where it really is like, he's your best friend and he's your buddy. And it doesn't matter that you're the little brother because he is your little brother now kind of thing. Like it really goes really far to like take away anything that Frankenstein probably was to any generation prior to this.
Plus, there's like the shorthand that we all know for Frankenstein. Even if you've never seen the movie, you've seen the monster, and you know that it's got torn clothes, it's got the bolts on the side of its neck, it's got stitches all over its face. This has none of that. And when you see this toy, it almost looks like the old toy Operation, where the kid's like opening it up, and there's like, it seems like a toolbox in Frankie's head, and he's pulling out the tools and then doing surgery on the monster. And
it doesn't have the, oh, you're pulling out his guts. Oh, he's got intestines. Oh, you're doing these things. It still is that very kind of chibi version of a monster where like, oh no, he has a really big, soft, squishy heart in here.
The fact that this didn't come with slime is kind of surprising to me. But I do think for most kids who grew up with slime as an option, like I think of Ghostbusters. At one point, my little brother had a lot of the Ghostbusters toys, and some of them came with the little Play-Doh style container, but it was slime.
There's something strange in the neighborhood.
Ghostbusters!
Sold separately.
Have no fear. Frankie, Steph, and Spangler are here. So are you. They've got ectoplasm breathing through. Now what? They puff marshmallow man. Let's show this pile of dessert who's boss. Activating Soda Blaster. We ain't afraid of them. Ghost.
Peter Venkman, Ectoplasm, Stay Puft Marshmallow Man, and other figures each sold separately. Ghostbusters, new from Kenner.
most kids will probably be in two camps. The one that would open that buddy up and just pour it all over their toy, whatever it was. And then the others that didn't want to damage their toys or slime their toys or ruin their toys. And then that slime probably just stayed in that container in a hot room or an attic or a basement.
I can remember marks on coffee tables for sure that are just like that slightly faded where it's not wet, it didn't warp, it's not distorted, it's just the color is gone. And you're like, I'm not concerned about that at all.
Just begs the question, what would take the stain, the wood stain off the table? What's in this thing? Like, what chemicals are here? Also, Mom, I had nothing to do with it. It was my little brother.
Yeah, I would never have encouraged him to put it on there knowing that it doesn't come back off and watched him suffer. Never.
Absolutely not. Not at all.
Deep in the rainforest, trucks transform into monsters and the battle begins. Big boats join the fight. You push his chain and reveal jagged jaws and killer claws.
Wow!
Big Bones capture Claw locks up the enemy, but Blowtorch rolls in for revenge. He takes aim and blocks his sizzling missile. Attack Pack, unleash the beast. Attack Pack vehicles are sold separately, new from Hot Wheels.
Hot Wheels. They've just been around for so long. Like, I had to actually look it up because I feel like they were always a part of my childhood. So they started in the 60s, but I think, again, you've got the 90s, you've got monsters, you've got creatures, you've got mutants. So, of course, Hot Wheels was going to get in on the act. I think the other part is monster trucks were kind of like a big thing, too, in the 80s, I think, going into the 90s. Bigfoot and Gravedigger, the cool monster aesthetics that some of those had. The Hot Wheels Attack Pack, these actually had like Mad Max style aesthetics, like assault, edgy, very like 90s marketing and effects in the commercial. And I think there's something about this era where you've got Hot Wheels saying, well, wait, if we're competing against Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, we've got to do something radical and different. So let's just make our cars a bunch of monsters and maybe some kids will pick them up.
Yeah, and I think that's the thing that worked for Hot Wheels. Like, obviously, I can't think of anyone that would not picture like a classic Hot Wheel. But I feel like what these did is they made them feel less like I need to build a track and race it around it, which the little ones were good for. This one made it feel a little more like I can play with this one anywhere. I can bring this one anywhere in the room. It's a part of things. This one had the huge cage, and this one my stepbrother had, which could capture the other cars that came in the set. It could capture other action figures. So this one became a part of play instead of saying, oh, I built the track and they're going around and it's cool and I like all of that. And they had all the fantastic like detailed ones and stuff, but they really let you play bigger, I think, than Hot Wheels. So I remember that being something it also then got to come out with other things because it could capture the other action figures, the other toys, the other monsters. It was good at doing all of that because it had more of a presence. It had more of a personality. So I remember these being played with more.
The next one, Gorzak from Tyco, that came out in 1994.
Was a werewolf-esque sort of thing. So I know we had it.
Dinosaurs are always kind of cool. Even before Jurassic Park, I think, brought them to the forefront again in like, was it 1993? You're a kid growing up, like you probably have a plastic mold of a dinosaur that's not articulated at all, but becomes a part of play with all your other toys because it's a dinosaur. And I think this thing, is it a werewolf? Is it a gorilla werewolf? Is it some weird hybrid? Is it a dinosaur? Is it a mutant animal? Combat warrior kind of thing going on?
Yeah, it isn't tied to anything, right? It's not like saying it's a dinosaur. It's not T-Rex. It's not Godzilla. It's a random thing. You're like, but it could fight my Godzilla. And I have a Godzilla. This could be a bad guy for my turtles to fight. And you're like, it's ambiguous enough that it works, but it's also, you're like, you're so specific. You feel like I should know more about you looking back. And you're like, why was I not questioning these toys that are not connected to anything, not tied into anything, not from anything? but they worked and they fit. And I feel like a lot of that is the commercial stylizing.
The other thing too is like with this commercial, like it feels for those of us that grew up in the 80s, animated series were basically just 22-minute long commercials for the toys.
A hideous beast born in the core of fiery earth. A nightmare of terror. It's Metlon, inhumanoid enemy of the earth core.
Inhumanoids!
The evil that lies within.
Metnar! We're gonna get stumped! Not if I can help it! Rock slide! You can't escape Metnar!
Metlar and other figures sold separately from Hasbro.
Inhumanoids.
There was a series that I grew up with called Inhumanoids that had these characters that kind of came from the Hollow Earth. And this has a lot of those like, is it kind of reptilian? It certainly has claws. It looks like an ape. I don't know what it is. But like to your point, it feels like it could fight my Godzilla toy. And I feel like toys like this probably have to do a lot more heavy lifting in a toy aisle that's crowded with stuff that people already know. They know My Pet Monster. I don't know what Gorzak is. I might go buy Big Frank and My Pet Monster before I buy Gorzak.
Hey dudes, bedtime!
Do you A, obey the babysitter, B, beg to stay up, C, hit her with thermonuclear breath? It's Godzilla, king of the monsters. His eyes flash as he roars. His arms swing, feet stomp, tail whips. Godzilla rules. Collect Godzilla and all his friends of destruction. Then fight the ultimate battle where no one is safe.
Cool hair!
Batteries not included. From Trendmasters, yes.
One toy that you've mentioned already, it had a reputation, and I grew up watching a lot of Godzilla marathons growing up. But in the 90s, before the 1998 American Godzilla movie came out, there was kind of like this dry period until when 1994 Trendmasters acquired the Godzilla license, and then they started really aggressively marketing it in the US. This is 1994. What just happened a year ago? Jurassic Park came out. Everyone loves dinosaur toys. Prehistoric toys, reptiles, Godzilla. Kids love that. Kaiju. And you got monsters battling other monsters. Dino Riders, Primal Rage, Extreme Dinosaurs. And now you got Rodan, Mothra, Mechagodzilla. It's like a perfect time to release a bunch of Godzilla toys for a generation of kids who are probably aware of Godzilla, but actually have never had Godzilla toys.
Yeah, no, and I would say that it perfectly sums up my knowledge of Godzilla. Like, I don't know why I know who Godzilla is, but I know who Godzilla is. And so, like, stepbrother had this toy. And like the thing that works for it is like the first iteration could just be that hunk of plastic. It did not need to be more. Godzilla doesn't have swords. He doesn't have this. So I feel like what this did really well was it appealed to kids that knew Godzilla simply by name. Like, I definitely could not have told you lore. I could not have told you movies. I could not have told you he came from Japan, other than probably could have somewhere deep down told you he's here to destroy Tokyo without any understanding of why. But then it had so many that he could fight.
Godzilla versus his enemies of destruction, the king of all monsters against the baddest beasts of all time, Rodan, Mothra, Ghidra, Mechaghidra, and Mechagodzilla. It's an eye-flashing, tail-whipping, building-bashing Godzilla war, and only the strong survive. Godzilla rules.
Even if I didn't know it as like, he's the monster that comes to destroy. If I want to set things up to destroy them, well, Godzilla's the natural choice to break it down. So if I'm going to build this and I'm going to bring something in to smash it, it should be him.
Godzilla and Big Frank, I would almost put in a similar category where for this generation of kids who haven't seen a Godzilla film, who haven't seen a Frankenstein film, you could still be in school and have a classmate dressed up as the Frankenstein monster. And you've never seen the 1930s Frankenstein movie or any of the Hammer horror Frankenstein versions, but you know what a Frankenstein monster is. I think the same way you could have a kid dressed up as Godzilla. And there's something about these toys that also kind of educate. You don't know what Godzilla is, but now we're giving you a Godzilla toy. That's cool. Maybe I would buy that because, hey, I've got Gorzak and he's got to fight someone. So why not pick up Godzilla?
I started this company to make the toys that you kids want. Spawn, Violator, here, now. These guys are bigger than life.
Cool chains, giant fangs,
that you want. So great, I made some for myself.
Spawn from Todd Toys. We're out to blast the competition.
The next one I think it's a good Venn diagram for something that I love, obviously, which is comics. That's Spawn, but I think specifically I want to talk about McFarlane's Monsters that came out in 1997. And this is around the time that, even if you don't know a lot about comics, Image Comics gets released. The top artists from Marvel move on and go independent, and they create Image Comics, and they make Youngblood, Wildcats, Spawn. They become the cool, hip 90s comics that everyone wants.
Watch while I tell you of an ancient war. On the side of evil, Hellspawn, ruler of the Demonites. Against them, the Wildcats, the Cherubim Spawn, the cybernetic leader, massive crossbreed maul, metamorphic warblade, master marksman grifter, fierce warrior zealot. Will they succeed and defeat Hellspawn? We're out of here. Wildcats from Playmates.
I want my heroes, my superheroes, to reflect the bodacious MTV editing era times that I'm growing up with. Todd McFarlane, after he got success from selling his comic, used a lot of that money to then make toys, but toys that reflected kids that were growing up. And even to that point, adults, where he realized adults collect comics. Now they're collectible. So maybe they'll buy a toy. Well, what if we gave them interchangeable heads or hands or more accessories? All of a sudden now there's hyper detail. I think they're leading more into like collector friendly presentation and packaging, because you're putting them on display on the shelf. You're not just beating the heck out of them. No. You want to have them in mint condition, like your comics. And I think that's where McFarlane has been kind of credited for revolutionizing that. And doing a monster line, this is what I saw at Suncoast or Spencer's, not always at Toys R Us. These are more expensive. The monster's growing up with the audience.
Spawn takes to the air with winged fury to battle powerful new minions of evil. Spawn rises with new powers in his war against the Empire of the Dark Planet. Mighty wings spring into action with a push of his skull belt, and Spawn takes to the skies in a never-ending search for justice. Zombie Spawn's trusty saw makes sure the crutch doesn't have a leg to stand on, while the mangy mangler makes twitch, itch, and sail loose his blood. There's nobody like nobody to burn the scourge. Spawn continues his fight against evil. Winged Spawn and Spawn Ultra action figures, each sold separately.
I think this is also another good example of like the evolution in toy technology. The toys that we grew up with before the 90s, the technology didn't exist to make them this articulated and this detailed. Now we hear about actors who are in the MCU movies and they get face scans. And then if you see these toys now at Walmart or Target, they look like the actors that portray them on the screen. And these toys were like the bridge in between the G.I. Joes that I had and the G.I. Joes that come out now, that come with a million accessories and backpacks that are not just like solid pieces of plastic. You can actually open them up and put the ninja stars inside, but they also have bandoliers where you could put the ninja stars, and they have a closed fist and an open fist and every other fist you can imagine. And you're paying $24, $25.99 for them, but it's almost steering away from the kid that's buying them. And now you're getting to one part nostalgia. I grew up with G.I. Joe. I grew up with some of these comics. I grew up with these characters, but now they want the like 82 points of articulation and they're willing to pay for it. And that's, I think, what the McFarlane Monsters is kind of like a good bridge for.
For me, the pivot was Beanie Babies started being less get them to play with. It was people getting them to collect. So I can absolutely see this where they're not for kids, like you said, where you're like, no, this is for the people who are now old enough to say, well, I have adult money and I can buy whatever I want, which is toys.
If you think there's a real monster hiding in your tracks, real monsters, they take his crumb and the grumble, holding a monster class. They slime and scare, so kids and bugs beware. Like Robert, so sweet, but when you see me and crumb with meat so hairy, they smell like garbage rot. If someone says, I'll keep an eye on you, be glad it's not true. Because Crumb the Grumble, Snurfer, and other monsters sold separately from Mattel.
If we're talking 90s, part of it is Nickelodeon. Rugrats, Duckman, The Wild Thornberries, and part of that lineup was 3 exclamation points, Real Monsters, and they had a toy line that came out around this time. I was not a kid that had cable, so I had cousins that had cable, and I was very jealous of them. So anytime we would visit those cousins, Fraggle Rock, Double Dare, and I'm like, guys, you're living the lifestyles of the rich and famous. This is amazing that you guys can watch this. So I was kind of familiar with this one, and even seeing the commercial for the toys, seeing the commercial for the animated series, it does feel very like 90s Nickelodeon trying to do the anti-Disney. If Disney is trying to be very family friendly, Aladdin and The Lion King, this is meant to be fun monster. They're still kind of cute, but they're a little bit more stylized. They're a little bit more bizarre. There's still some gross out elements to them, but they're still meant to be fun and playable for kids as far as the toy line's concerned.
Yeah, and I definitely was Nickelodeon. It's funny that you say it wasn't cable. We had cable, but the cutoff for me was if you had Disney Channel, that's where you were rich. You were Disney Channel rich. We watched all of these. I didn't know there were toys. I think I was right at the age that I watched all of these, but wasn't getting the toys with it. But I absolutely agree that Our Real Monsters was trying to be funny gross. But like one holds his eyeballs in his hand, so his arms are always above his head. So he's got armpit hair, and so his gimmick is that he'll have like body odor, and then they're always doing like toilet gags and different things. So like it was like, look, we're just like everything you remember that's funny and will gross out your sister, and she won't watch this.
Why are these monsters smiling? Because Nickelodeon has brand new episodes of Real Monsters! That's right, Ickis, Crumb, and Oblina are back with all new, slightly repulsive adventures.
Let us go tell everybody.
Yeah, come on, buddy. Let's party.
Don't miss an all-new episode of Real Monsters! This Sunday at 10:30, 9:30 Central, only on Nick!
They were very approachable, and they were very kid-friendly ways of doing what had been like the early 90s gross things, the slime, the body pieces that come off, but like really, like you said, done in a over the top cutesy sort of monster. This was not a monster designed to scare you. You were never supposed to have nightmares about these, but they were supposed to be gross, icky monsters, but you liked them.
A little bit more surreal, I think. And I'm like, I wouldn't go so far as like, it's like body horror where the monster's like holding his eyeballs, but definitely trying to be a little bit more bizarre. The plot, a bunch of monsters that live underneath cities and they attend a school where they're learning how to scare humans. And that feels very Pixar-esque, as in Monsters and like Monsters University. But I think the part about this is that it's got, for lack of a better term, the squiggly line design, like animation aesthetic that I associate with things that are not polished like Disney. When I think of some of these shows that were a little bit rough around the edges, like Rugrats, because Nickelodeon wasn't working with Disney-style budgets, but I think they were very much in tune with what kids love. Like they wanted something odd, but lovable. They wanted something kind of cute and bizarre and weird, because as a kid, like you felt weird and you were like, no, I don't fit in with everyone else. So here are these monsters that don't fit in with everyone else as well. Cool. Then they're a little bit messier and a little bit stranger than all the other stuff. I like that.
Yeah, I definitely I watch Disney, but I will definitely admit, like for me, Disney was Disney princesses. But Nickelodeon, I felt was definitely more relatable. Rocko's Modern Life, all these things that like, it carried heavy themes through them and did it in a way that didn't make you feel like you were dumb if you didn't get it. But they also were like, listen, if you're just watching this because it's fun to watch it. So the Real Monsters was another one too, where they definitely they leaned into the dynamic of friendship and going to school and feeling awkward, and even that there are monsters that don't fit in with other monsters and stuff, and like the joke being, oh well, you're too human to be a monster kind of thing. So like it definitely fit kids, I think, better, and then lent itself to toys way easier, because you could do these gags, push this down and the big ball shoots out of its mouth that looks like a slime bubble, the things that are totally random and weird, so it doesn't matter that this toy has 5 arms. Okay, you buy these toys, well, the arms pop off this one, you can stick them on the legs of this one, and you can make your own real monster. So like they did it in a way that really commercialized it in a way they could profit from, which is brilliant. Kudos.
Hey, the squirrel! Here they come! Look out! Real monster!
Become a master monster with Ickis, Oblina, and Crumb in Nickelodeon. Real Monsters.
So it's fun! It's scary!
Scare your way through over 25 different monster levels with 5 bonus rounds. Switch monsters with 3-way control or team up to perform triple monster moves. So look out for
Real monsters!
Nickelodeon, a real monster!
It fit into the end of the 90s in the terms of this is done to be gross and icky. This is the monster throwback. But here's a little pivot on it too. Okay, well, monsters. But if I had the toy, I'd play with it.